Have you ever wondered why some men seem to possess a natural magnetism that makes them irresistible, while others, despite being good people, go completely unnoticed? Have you noticed how certain individuals walk into a room and automatically become the center of attention? Not because they're the most handsome or the richest, but because of something much deeper and more powerful. Today we're going to unravel one of the most fascinating mysteries of masculine attraction: how to develop a truly magnetic persona without betraying your essence, without becoming someone you're not, and without falling into the typical superficial masks that most men desperately adopt. What I'm about to reveal to you in the next few minutes will not only transform how women perceive you, but will completely revolutionize your relationship with yourself and the world around you. The great lie we've been sold for decades is that to be attractive, you must pretend to be someone else, adopt a personality that doesn't belong to you, or follow rigid formulas that supposedly work for everyone. This approach is not only false, but profoundly destructive to your development as a man. When you try to be someone you're not, you generate an internal dissonance that is immediately perceived. Women, with their naturally developed intuition, can detect the incongruence between what you project and what you really are in a matter of seconds. It's like wearing a suit that's not your size. No matter how expensive it is, it will never fit you well, and everyone will notice that something is out of place. True masculine attraction doesn't arise from imitation, but from refined authenticity. It's not about being natural in the sense of not working on yourself, but about polishing and magnifying the qualities you already possess, developing your inherent potential until you become the best version of yourself. This requires a completely different approach, one that the ancient Stoic philosophers understood perfectly, and that modern masters of seduction have rediscovered and systematized. Let me explain something fundamental. Attraction is not an accident. It's the result of deep and consistent internal work. When you observe those men who seem to have natural charisma, what you're really seeing is the result of years of personal development, self-knowledge, and the courage to be authentic in a world that constantly pressures us to conform. These men have discovered the secret of aligning their internal identity with their external expression, creating a presence so solid and genuine that it becomes naturally magnetic. An attractive persona is not a mask you put on in the morning. It's the external manifestation of your internal work. It's the visible expression of your confidence, your purpose, your integrity, and your presence. When you develop these elements from the inside out, you don't need to fake anything because what you project is genuinely yours. Women are drawn to this authenticity because they unconsciously recognize that they're in front of a man who knows himself, who has clear values, and who doesn't need external validation to feel complete. One of the fundamental principles of Stoicism that applies directly to this process is the concept of premeditatio malorum, or premeditation of adversities. The Stoics understood that to develop a solid and unshakable presence, you had to face and accept your own limitations, fears, and insecurities. Not to eliminate them, but to integrate them as part of your complete human experience. An attractive man is not one who has no fears, but one who acts despite them, who recognizes his vulnerabilities, but doesn't allow them to define his actions. When you apply this principle to your personal development, you begin to understand that your supposed flaws or characteristics you consider less attractive are not obstacles you must hide, but aspects of your personality that you can integrate authentically and even transform into strengths. For example, if you're naturally introverted, instead of forcing yourself to be extroverted, you can develop the depth, listening capacity, and silent presence that characterize confident introverts. These qualities, when expressed with confidence, can be extraordinarily attractive. Building an attractive persona begins with deep self-knowledge. This means dedicating regular time to examining your thoughts, emotions, reactions, and behavior patterns, not from a place of self-punishment or destructive criticism, but from the genuine curiosity of a researcher who wants to understand how his own internal mechanism works. The Stoics called this prososche, a constant and vigilant attention to oneself. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, regularly wrote about his own internal observations, not to torture himself, but to better understand his own motivations and improve his character. This process of self-examination allows you to identify what your authentic values are, not the ones you think you should have, but those that truly resonate with you at a deep level. When your actions are aligned with your true values, you generate an internal congruence that translates into external presence. People, especially women, can feel this coherence even without being able to explain it rationally. It's the difference between someone who is acting their life and someone who is living their life. Once you've established this foundation of self-knowledge, the next step is to develop what I call conscious presence. This is not simply being physically present, but being completely involved in every moment, every conversation, every interaction. Most people live in a state of constant distraction, thinking about the past or worrying about the future, but never really present in the now. A man with conscious presence is like a magnet because he offers something that is extremely rare in our modern world: complete and genuine attention. Developing conscious presence requires daily practice. It begins with simple exercises like maintaining eye contact during conversations, really listening to what the other person is saying instead of preparing your next response, and being physically relaxed but mentally alert. These may seem like minor details, but when combined, they create a completely different interaction experience for the other person. When a woman feels that you have the ability to be completely present with her, this generates a deep connection that goes far beyond superficial attraction. Authentic confidence is another fundamental pillar of an attractive persona, but here it's crucial to understand the difference between genuine confidence and arrogance or compensation. Real confidence doesn't come from comparing yourself to others or trying to prove your superiority, but from a deep acceptance of who you are, combined with the certainty that you can handle any situation that arises. The Stoics understood that true confidence arises from knowing that your value as a person doesn't depend on external circumstances, but on your character and your ability to respond with virtue to any challenge. To develop this authentic confidence, you need to regularly expose yourself to situations that challenge you and take you out of your comfort zone. It's not about seeking dangerous or irresponsible situations, but about gradually expanding the limits of what you consider possible for yourself. Every time you face a fear and act despite it, you not only build evidence of your own capability, but you also strengthen your tolerance for discomfort and your confidence in your ability to navigate uncertainty. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control what happens around us, but we can control how we respond to what happens. This fundamental understanding is liberating because it means that your inner peace, your confidence, and your attractiveness don't depend on everything going according to your plans, but on your ability to maintain your composure and respond appropriately, regardless of circumstances. A man who operates from this place of internal control is inherently attractive because he radiates an emotional stability that is deeply reassuring to others. Integrity is perhaps the most powerful element of an attractive persona. Integrity is not about being perfect, but about being honest with yourself and others about who you are, what you value, and what you're willing to do or not do. When you live with integrity, you eliminate the need to maintain multiple masks or versions of yourself for different situations. This not only simplifies your life enormously, but also creates a consistency in your presence that people find extremely attractive. Living with integrity means making decisions based on your values, not on what others expect of you or what you think will make you more popular. It means saying no when something isn't aligned with who you are, and saying yes wholeheartedly when something resonates with your truth. This coherence between values, words, and actions creates a solid presence that is impossible to fake and that women find irresistibly attractive. Now, let's talk about how all of this translates into specific social interactions. When you've developed self-knowledge, conscious presence, authentic confidence, and integrity, your way of interacting with women changes radically. You're no longer trying to impress or get something from them. Instead, you're genuinely interested in getting to know them as people. This subtle but fundamental difference completely changes the dynamic of the interaction. Instead of constantly monitoring their reactions to see if they like you, you can relax and be genuinely curious about who they are. Instead of trying to say the right things to generate attraction, you can speak from your authentic experience and allow a natural connection to develop. This shift in focus from "what can I get" to "what can I discover" transforms every interaction into an opportunity for mutual growth instead of an emotional transaction. Authentic conversation is an art that requires practice, but when you master it, it becomes a powerful tool for creating deep connections. instead of relying on prefabricated lines or memorized routines. You learn to navigate conversations from genuine curiosity and the ability to share your own experience in a vulnerable but appropriate way. This means asking questions that genuinely interest you, listening to the answers with complete attention, and sharing aspects of your own experience that are relevant and authentic. One of the most attractive characteristics you can develop is the ability to be comfortable with silence and emotional tension. Most people, especially when they're nervous, try to fill every moment of silence with words, but a man who is secure in himself can allow conversation to have a natural rhythm, including pauses and moments of silence. This comfort with tension extends to other aspects of social interaction, such as the ability to maintain eye contact, to be physically relaxed but alert, and to not feel the need to constantly explain or justify your actions. Authentic humor is another powerful tool, but it must arise naturally from your personality, not from trying to be the funny guy all the time. Humor that springs from intelligent observation, unique perspective, or even the ability to laugh at yourself appropriately is much more attractive than forced jokes or humor that constantly seeks approval. When you can find lightness and fun in everyday situations without effort, this indicates a balanced perspective and internal security that is magnetic. Controlled vulnerability is a concept that many men misunderstand. It's not about dumping all your problems or insecurities on someone you've just met, but about being willing to be human, to admit when you don't know something, to share aspects of your experience that show you're a real person with challenges and growth, not a perfect facade. This vulnerability, when shared from a place of strength and not need, creates an emotional intimacy that is deeply attractive. Physical development also plays an important role, but not in the way most men think. It's not about having the perfect body or wearing the most expensive brands, but about taking care of your physique as an expression of self-respect and personal discipline. When you keep your body in good shape, you not only feel better physically, but you also demonstrate a capacity for long-term commitment and self-care that are attractive qualities. Similarly, dressing well doesn't mean following the latest trends, but understanding what styles and colors flatter you and dressing appropriately for the occasion while expressing your personality. Physical presence goes beyond appearance. It includes your posture, the way you move, your general energy. A man who moves with purpose, who maintains an upright but relaxed posture, and who occupies his space appropriately without apologizing for existing, communicates confidence and presence non-verbally. These physical elements must be aligned with your internal development. When there's congruence between how you feel inside and how you present yourself outside, your presence becomes magnetic. Emotional management is crucial for maintaining your attractiveness long-term. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending you don't have them, but developing the ability to experience them fully while maintaining your ability to respond appropriately. The Stoics had specific techniques for this, such as the practice of observing their emotions without being controlled by them, recognizing that emotions are information about their internal state, but not necessarily directives for action. When you can feel anger, sadness, frustration, or any other emotion without being completely dominated by it, you develop an emotional stability that is extremely attractive. This doesn't make you an emotional robot, but someone who can be completely present with their emotions without having them dictate their behaviors reactively. Women find this emotional stability deeply comforting because it indicates that you can be an emotionally reliable partner. Personal purpose is another fundamental element that you can't fake or develop overnight. It's about having a clear direction in your life, goals that genuinely motivate you, and an understanding of how you want to contribute to the world. This doesn't mean you need to have everything figured out or that your purpose must be grandiose. It can be as simple as being a good father, building a business that adds value, or developing a skill you're passionate about. What's important is that you have something that moves you beyond the pursuit of external validation. When you have a clear purpose, this is reflected in all aspects of your life. You speak with more conviction, make decisions more quickly, and your time becomes more valuable because you know where you're headed. Women are drawn to men with purpose because they recognize they're with someone who is building something meaningful, not just passing time or seeking entertainment. Emotional independence is perhaps one of the most attractive qualities you can develop. This means that your happiness, self-esteem, and sense of completeness don't depend on the approval or presence of others. You can deeply enjoy a woman's company without needing her to feel complete. This independence creates a completely different dynamic in relationships because it eliminates the needy or desperate energy that can be suffocating. When you're emotionally independent, you can love from a place of abundance instead of scarcity. You can invest emotionally in a relationship because you genuinely value the person, not because you need something from her. This difference is palpable and creates a type of attraction that goes far beyond the superficial because it's based on mutual choice instead of need. Personal mastery in any area of your life also contributes significantly to your attractiveness. This can be professional, artistic, athletic mastery, or in any skill you develop with dedication and passion. Mastery demonstrates your capacity for long-term commitment, your discipline, your ability to learn and grow, and your willingness to invest in yourself. These are all indicators of high quality as a potential partner. Additionally, when you're competent at something, this generates a natural confidence that extends to other areas of your life. Confidence that arises from genuine competence is different from manufactured confidence because it's based on real evidence of your capability. This confidence translates into a more solid presence and greater comfort with yourself in social situations. Leadership capability is another inherently attractive quality, but authentic leadership is not about dominating or controlling others, but about inspiring and guiding by example. An authentic leader takes responsibility for their decisions, thinks about the group's welfare, and has the courage to make difficult decisions when necessary. These qualities manifest in both large and small situations, from deciding where to go for dinner to navigating more significant life challenges. Leadership also implies the ability to maintain your composure under pressure and to make decisions based on principles instead of momentary emotions. When a woman sees that you can stay calm and make good decisions even when things get difficult, this provides her with a sense of security that is deeply attractive. Generosity of spirit, when it arises from abundance and not from the need to please, is magnetic. This includes being generous with your time, attention, knowledge, and resources when appropriate, but from a place of conscious choice, not obligation or manipulation. When you can give freely without expecting anything in return, this indicates an internal abundance that is extremely attractive. This generosity also extends to how you treat all people, not just those you want something from. How you interact with waiters, employees, elderly people, children. All of these are indicators of your true character. A woman will observe how you treat others as a predictor of how you'll treat her, especially when the initial novelty of the relationship fades. The ability to maintain your standards without being rigid or inflexible is a delicate but powerful balance. This means knowing what's negotiable and what's not in your life, and being willing to walk away from situations or relationships that aren't aligned with your values, even when this requires short-term sacrifice. This quality demonstrates self-respect and integrity, and paradoxically, makes others value you more. Having clear standards doesn't mean being perfectionist or demanding, but having a clear understanding of what contributes to your long-term well-being and happiness, and being willing to protect that. When a woman sees that you have standards for yourself and for the people in your life, this tells her that you value quality over quantity, and that you choose her consciously, not out of desperation or lack of options. Emotional intelligence is fundamental for navigating the complexities of human relationships. This includes the ability to read others' emotions and needs, to communicate effectively under stress, and to manage conflicts constructively. Emotional intelligence also implies self-awareness, understanding your own emotional triggers, behavior patterns, and how your actions affect others. Developing emotional intelligence requires constant practice and honest reflection on your interactions. It means being willing to receive feedback, to apologize when you're wrong, and to learn from your mistakes without constantly defending or justifying yourself. This humility, combined with competence, is a powerful combination that generates respect and admiration. Consistency in your behavior and values creates emotional predictability, which is fundamental for building trust. This doesn't mean being boring or inflexible, but being reliable in terms of your fundamental principles and character. When people know what to expect from you in terms of integrity, honesty, and treatment, this creates a solid foundation for deep relationships. Consistency also applies to your personal growth process. When you're constantly working on improving yourself without obsessing over perfection, this demonstrates a growth mindset that is attractive. Women want to be with men who are evolving and growing, not with men who are stagnant or who think they already know everything. Finally, the integration of all these elements into a cohesive and authentic presence is what creates true personal magnetism. It's not about perfecting each of these aspects separately, but about working on them holistically while maintaining your unique essence. Each man will have a different expression of these principles based on his personality, experiences, and natural strengths. The goal is not to become a generic version of the attractive man, but to become the most developed, authentic, and powerful version of yourself. When you achieve this integration, you not only become more attractive to women, but you also experience a personal satisfaction and fulfillment that doesn't depend on external validation. Remember that this is a process of continuous development, not a final destination. The most attractive and successful men I know continue working on these aspects of themselves decades after achieving success in their relationships. They see personal development as a lifestyle, not as a task to complete. Your journey toward developing an authentically attractive persona begins with the decision to commit to yourself, to invest the time and energy necessary to know yourself deeply and develop your complete potential. There are no shortcuts in this process, but the results, both in terms of attraction and personal satisfaction, are completely worth the investment. If this content has resonated with you and you want to deepen these concepts, I invite you to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications so you don't miss the upcoming videos where we'll continue exploring the deepest aspects of masculine development, authentic seduction, and the Stoic principles that can transform not only your success with women, but your life in general. Let me know in the comments which of these principles resonates most with you and in what area you feel you need the most development. Your feedback helps me create more valuable content for this community of men committed to their personal growth.